Okay, guys, let's look at the student task statement called comparing running speeds. It says Lynn ran 2 3/4 miles in 2/5 of an hour. Noah ran 8 2/3 miles in 4/3 of an hour. It's telling us to pick one of these questions that was displayed, but don't tell anyone which question you pick. Find the answer to that question. It tells you that once you and your partner are both done, share the answer which you got. Do not share the question. And ask your partner to guess which question you answered. If your partner can't guess, explain the process you use to answer the question. Switch with your partner and take turns guessing the questions that your partners answered, okay? So here is the questions. I wrote it all out for you guys, and I made it so nice and neat. I have red representing Lynn, blue representing Noah, okay? So what I did is that I'm going to put these questions in the previous slide, and I'm going to challenge you to pick one of those questions and to try to answer it yourself. So this video is almost kind of like a tool of review and so on. All right. So needless to say, and excuse the noise in the background, that's the girls' basketball team. They just coming from practice. But anywho, so the questions pretty much was telling us like find the unit rate per hour, find the unit rate per mile for each person, and then you need to decide who's running faster. Okay. So you guys could pick whatever method that you like using at home. Me personally, I'm more comfortable with the ratio method. If you like the tape diagram method, you can use it and so on, but I'm going to be using the ratio method. Okay, so it's asking us to find the unit rate per hour, and here is Lynn's ratio. So since it's asking for per hour, I'm going to set it up in ratio form. Now, first of all, and I love telling my students this in class, and let me go back and erase this. Anytime we work with mixed fractions, we want to change them into improper fractions. That is the first step before you do any type of math work. All right. So you want to change these mixed fractions to improper fractions. And how you do that is, this is changing it to an improper fraction. You're going to multiply that denominator, and then you're going to add your results to the top, okay? So it's going to be 2 times 4, which is 8. 8 plus 3, which is 11 over 4. That's the improper fraction, okay? For this one, the improper fraction will be 8 times 3. And then I'm going to add my results towards the numerator, which 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26 over 3. Okay? All right. So if you have any questions about how to change a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, please visit your manager's Google Meet session. All right? So, needless to say, I'm going to replace those mixed fractions with its improper fractions value, okay? So it's going to be 11 over 4 miles to 2/5 of an hour. All right? So I want to do that. Well, let's focus on Lynn. I don't want to get you guys overwhelmed, all right? So the question is telling us per hour, okay? It's telling us per hour. So you need to ask yourself, well, which side is going to a value of 1? If you guess hour, you are absolutely correct. So just like a whole number, anytime you divide a number, a fraction, a decimal, a negative number, positive number, million, gazillion, trillion, anytime you divide a number by itself, it's going to equal 1, okay? But just like we did with our fluency out in our warm-up, anytime we divide a fraction divided by a fraction, it's like multiplying by its reciprocal, which would be 5 over 2. Keep in mind, reference back to that warm-up video. Anytime we divided a fraction, you have to do the multiplicative inverse, which is basically multiplying by its reciprocal. So it's going to be times 5 over 2 on both sides. This cancels out, or this simplifies to 1 hour. Okay? So now we have the real math problem right here, which would be, and I'm going to do my work over this side because I'm running out of room, 5 times 11 over 2 times 4, which would give me 55 over 8. Now I need to change this improper fraction back to a mixed fraction, which I will divide how many times 8 can go into 55. And if you guess 6 times, you are absolutely correct. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract. Okay, 5 is not big enough to borrow from 8, so I'm going to borrow, and it's going to be 7. So it's going to be in 1 hour, and just keep in mind, this is the whole number, which is 6. This is the remainder, which is the numerator, 7. And the denominator would be the number that divided into the dividend, I guess, miles. Okay? So 6 7/8 miles in 1 hour. I'm going to circle that so it could be more pronounced. All right? That's Lynn's unit rate per hour. Okay? Now, let's look at Noah's unit rate per hour. Okay? Noah's unit rate per hour, and remember, we're replacing that mixed fraction with its improper value, which would be 26 over 3 miles, or 26 thirds miles to 4 thirds of an hour. Okay? So, like I said, we're trying to find the unit rate per hour, which means that this side is the one that's going to a value of 1. Okay? So this side is the side that's going to the value of 1, which means that I need to multiply this side by its multiplicative inverse. Just a friendly reminder, when we divide fractions, we want to use the multiplicative inverse, okay? So it'll be 3 over 4. And whatever you do to one side, you want to do to the other side. Now, this side is kind of tight, so I'm going to bring this math problem over here. So I will 26 over 3. Okay. So I want to show you this trick that I learned in a Eureka training. She told me that multiply, and she showed my students this, and it made it easier. So 3 times 26, 4 times 3. So, and she said, hey, this number matches the number in the denominator, so you can scratch it out, actually. And what you're left with is 26 over 4. Now, if you guys wanted to, you could have multiplied going straight across, and it would have simplified this to 26 over 4. Now, this could even simplify even smaller because they're both even numbers, which we could divide both numbers by 2. Which would be 13 over 2. So then now I need to change it back to its mixed number value, which how many times can 2 go into 13 without going over? 2 can go into 13 6 times, and what's left over is 6 1/2 miles. I'm going to circle that, okay? So now let's look at the next one. And I'm going to change my color up so you guys can know, hey, she's moving on to the next problem. So let's do this. How about this? Make it a little burgundy, okay? So now let's look at the next one, okay? We still want to use that same ratio. 11 over 4 miles to 2/5 of an hour, okay? And we're going to write the same thing down for the next side. We're going to do 26 over 3 miles to 4/3 of an hour, okay? So, and this question is asking per mile. And remember, per is like asking for a value of one unit. So in this case, miles is actually going to a value of 1, which, let me erase that S, use correct grammar. Okay, there we go. So miles is actually going to a value of 1. So, which means this side is actually be the side that is going to 1. We're going to divide or multiply by its reciprocal, which is 4/11. Whatever you do to one side, you want to do to the other side. This cancels out to the value of 1. And now I have 8/55. Okay? So 8/55 are 8/55 of an hour. Okay? So then we have to do the same method that applies for Noah. Okay? So 3/26. 3/26. And just like what I said in the last problem, we can actually get rid of those 3's, and it's going to equal to 4/26. And if we know that that's simplified to 13/2, and this is the reciprocal, it should simplify to 2/13. So 2/13 of an hour, okay? So here's the, and I'm going to circle that. Let me start. So here's the real question, okay? Who ran faster? Which unit rate do you want to use? If I had to choose, I would compare the miles in the hour. This one right here. I'm going to highlight the box. I will use this one. Now, you can use whatever one you choose to use. That's fine. It's more than one way to get a right answer. But I'm using the one that's in the center. Okay? Why? It's because it helps me easier. They both have 1 hour. And now I'm just looking to see who ran the furthest in the same amount of time. So which one is more, a half or 7/8? A half or 7/8? Okay? If you guess 6 7/8 miles, you are absolutely correct. So it's Lynn. Lynn is running the fastest. Lynn is running or ran. I'm going to put running. Lynn is running faster. Okay? So if you have any questions on this part of the lesson, you can always refer back to your manager's Google Meet session. All right? I'll see you guys in the next question. And yeah, see you guys there.